Alright, hello and welcome. Do Ethereum dips make profits? Let's code that in Python. Ethereum's price can tank fast in an hour, tempting us to jump in. In this video we are coding a Python script to backtest a simple strategy. Buy Ethereum after a 1% hourly drop, then sell for a 0.5% hourly gain afterwards or after a certain holding period. So let's see if that holds up. Obviously, this video is not an investment advice and is for educational purposes only. That said, let's get into coding. We need two libraries, ccxt, super convenient and popular crypto exchange connection library, enabling us to pull crypto prices for multiple exchanges. I'm just picking one exchange where I pull prices from. You will see that in a couple of minutes. And we also need pandas for data handling. Next up, I'm going to define the parameters for the strategy. That is the drop threshold. So we want to buy when Ethereum dropped by 1% within an hour. So the drop threshold is going to be 1%, 0.01. Similar story for the rise threshold. Now, we want to buy then when it bounces back by 0.5%. So the rise threshold is simply 0.05 or 0.05%. Now, you can obviously play around with different parameters here. I'm just taking an example of the drop threshold being twice the rise threshold. Next up, the holding period. So how long do you want to hold if nothing is happening? Now in this case, max hold hours, I define that as 5. It's random. It's not following any logic. I'm just defining it. I want to hold for 5 hours and then I want to go out if nothing is happening. You can also define stop loss, target profit. The sky is the limit here. I'm just showing you an example. So this code is extendable to your needs. Now, last but not least, very important, the trading fee to make the profit realistic. I'm just taking a round trip here, meaning I'm incorporating the buy and sell here. And for Binance, if you take BNB as the commission asset, that is 0.15%. These are the parameters for the strategy. Now, let's pull prices. Therefore, I'm defining an exchange here and use ccxt to connect to Binance. This is how you are doing it. With that, I can use functions defined by ccxt to pull, for instance, candlestick data. And that's what we are going to do. So I'm using exchange and pull the open, high, low, close volume data using the fetch OHLCV function and pull that on Ethereum versus USDT on the 1 hour time frame. Just to mention again, this is an example for an hourly strategy. You can also play that on daily data, on 4 hourly data, on 1 minute data, whatever you want. This is an example to play this strategy. Then I'm defining a limit here. This is optional because the limit for fetching candlestick data using the ccxt library is always limited to 1000 rows. You can get around that. So if you want to pull for a longer time horizon, you can get around that using pagination. I can show you how to do that. Just let me know if you don't know how to use that. But you can go way beyond 1000 rows here. The standard limit is 1000 rows, just that you don't wonder why you only get 1000 rows. Now let's take a look at how this is looking like when pulling that. So this for now looks a bit, cryptic here, right? So this is a Unix timestamp. This is open, high, low, close, and volume. So let's transform this data so it's actually readable for us and it's convenient to read that by putting that all in the data frame. So df, that's the data frame. Now we use pandas data frame on this data and define the column names. So first one is a timestamp, second one is open, then we have the high, then we have the low, the close, and the volume. We don't even need the volume for this strategy, but it doesn't hurt to have it in here. So let's execute that and take a look at how this is looking like. Here you see, super convenient data frame. Now, as we cannot read the timestamp, as we are not computers, at least not yet, we want to transform that timestamp column into a datetime column by simply using the toDatetime function on the timestamp column here. I'm just copy pasting that out of laziness here, and then define the unit as ms, and with that you are getting a very conveniently formatted timestamp column here. Just as a side note, you can also put that as the index of the data frame if that's the way you operate. I'm not doing that in this video. Don't ask me why, but usually you can also set that to the index of the data frame. Then the logic later on will be slightly different. So we are keeping it as a column for now. Next, we want to know in each row, how much did the price move in percentage? Why percentage? Because our thresholds are also in percentage. All right, so we need to calculate the so-called return on the hourly time frame here. And that's super straightforward. You just define another column here, which I'm going to call change, and apply on the close column the percentage change function from pandas. And with that, I'm getting the change. So this is the change from here compared to here. This is the change from here to here, and so on. So we have the change stored here in an additional column. Now we want to have the buy signal and the sell signal, and that's super straightforward. You just check, is this change hitting the drop threshold or the rise threshold? And we got a buy signal per definition, and for that I'm just creating a new column here, and then I'm using the change value and check, is that below my drop threshold? Obviously in negative terms, because we want to know how much it dropped here. So we want to check, is the hourly change below 1%? So I'm setting -1 here and take that as my buy signal. And similar logic for the selling signal. That's just renaming here sell signal, and then a very similar logic if that is larger than the rise threshold. Right, so this is our selling signal. Now the final data frame looking like this. We got a buy signal and a sell signal, and with that we can just stupidly, so forgive my words, but it is just how it is, we can just stupidly loop over this data frame and screen for the buying and selling signals. Now before doing that, before looping over it, you can also use vectorization here, by the way. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. I'm not using iteros here. I'm just using a simple loop over this data frame using a for in range loop. Before that, I'm setting some flags and some lists up, which we are populating within this loop. So first of all, we need a position flag. So we want to track if we are currently in a position. Background is, you might get, let's say, a buy signal, and then in the next row you might also get a buy signal, but then you're already in a position and you don't care about the next row's buy signal. But if you don't have a flag tracking if you're in a position, you would run into overlapping signals here. So you just keep track of the position flag to avoid that. Next up, I'm just creating an empty list of the trades. This is what we're going to populate within the loop. And then I need to set up some initial variables here. So the entry price is 0. And this is obviously for the first trade, this is going to be the next candles open once you get a buying signal here, right? But I'm just initializing it here to define it later on within the loop. And same story for the entry date, because I want to know when I bought, simply because I have defined a holding period here. So I'm checking the entry date versus the holding period, nothing more than that. And this is everything we have for the loop. Now it's simple for I in range loop, starting at the first row, and then we are looping technically not the first row but the second row here. That's just because we don't have any information in this row here, so I'm just starting at 1 here, and then we are going until the end of this data frame, and then -1. Why -1? Because we cannot process the last row, because we're always buying on the next candles open, and for the last row, per definition, you don't have a next row, and that is why this loop stops 1 iteration before the last row here. And then simply you just, so the logic is super straightforward. You just check, is there a buying signal and are you not in position? And if there is a buying signal, so if that is true, you track the next candles open and the next candles timestamp, and from there on you check your exit, which is, does Ethereum bounce back, or am I exceeding my holding period? And this is what we're going to code. So this is super straightforward. If we have a buy signal at the current iteration and we are not in a position, which is initially the case, then we have an entry price, which is simply the next candles open. So we extract the open and then we're just taking the current iteration plus 1 to get into the next row. Super straightforward. Same exact story for the entry date here. Entry date, df, then we check the timestamp and we get the next candles open here. And once we got that, we are in a position technically, because we're buying signal, we've locked in the entry price and the entry date, so we are in a position, so the flag is becoming true. And now if we are in a position which is being triggered once this condition is fulfilled, then we want to check for our exit strategy. And first of all, we need the hours held, and that's a super straightforward logic. You just check what is the current timestamp and how far is it from the entry date. So you check the timestamp, I'm just copy pasting it here at I+1, and subtract the entry date. And with that, you're getting the difference, which is just telling you how long are you in the position until this point. And then you just pull the total seconds and convert that to hours. So simply dividing by 3.6k here to get the hours. So this is how you're getting the hours you are holding this position. All right. Now, we have the hours held, and now we need to check for one of the two, right? Is my sell signal triggered, or am I above my holding hour threshold, which was defined above here, so 5 hours. So this is another condition. If my sell signal in this row is fulfilled, or my hours held above or equal to my max holding hours, then I want to cash out. Now my exit price, same story as before, is the next candles open. So I'm just copy pasting here out of laziness. And then I got my profit which is simply my exit price minus the entry price. And that in relation to the entry price. Now, you also have to pay for it, so I'm just subtracting the round trip trading fee. So I'm just subtracting trading fee here to get the realistic profit. And with that, I have a profit of one trade here, which is being triggered. And I'm appending this trade to my list, defined above, trades. And then I'm just appending a dictionary here. So I want to have my entry date. These are just some trade information, so you can also extend that. You can also add information here. For me, relevant is the entry date, the exit date, which is just the timestamp I+1. Do I have it somewhere here? Yeah, I have it here. And then last but not least, the profit here, profit generated. So this is going to add a dictionary containing the trading information to the trades list. In the end, very important, you have to say that you're not in a position anymore because you locked in the trade. And that's it for the loop. Nothing more than that. Run it. And then we have the trades which are looking like this. Not easy to read, as you see. So if something is not easy to read, the most common solution or the most obvious solution always is pulling it or putting it in a data frame, and with that you're getting way easier to observe things here. So trade CF, you can call that, and then you get this super convenient and easy to read trade DF here, right? All right, so you're getting all the trades. So a couple of trades actually, and the profit here. And then you can do some analysis on this one, right? So you can check, for instance, just to give you an idea, the number of trades you actually did. So number of trades are 36 here. And let's see how long this is covering. So this is starting mid of June. 36 trades until then, and are they good? Are they trash? Let's find out by taking a look at. Let's take a look at the average win rate of those trades. Not win rate, sorry, the average profit of those trades. So that would be what's that? 0.2%. Not bad, not insanely good, but a positive average profit we got here, which is a good thing. And then in terms of the win rate, you can just use simple math here. You can just take the number of positive trades divided by the number of all trades. So trades profit is bigger than 0, and got the trades CF bigger than 0, then the number of rows for that. Divided by the number should be doing the job. Yeah, so 70.78% win rate on this strategy. So we got 28 positive trades out of this, even after taking trading fees into account. So doesn't look too bad. Obviously you have to go back in time and you have to do some optimization and also some rolling windows on those parameters here, right? So who knows what are the optimal parameters. Now, how you would do that if you're serious about backtesting this strategy in general, you would optimize that based on a certain time frame, then apply that on the next time frame and see if that holds, and then find iteratively the best parameters for the best asset. If you're interested in more advanced stuff like that, let me know. Happy to go over it. I did in the past, but obviously I'm open to also do that in the future. So let me know your thoughts on this strategy and let me know what you're interested in. And I thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you in the upcoming videos. Cheers. Bye.